Greetings everyone, and welcome to my YouTube channel. I'm your host, Captain Rye. Today's YouTube video has got me in a ship that none of you have ever seen me play before. Yeah, so just like the gearing, I am in another Tier 10 ship that I've never played because, well, I just don't particularly like the way it looks. However, I finally gave in, decided to pick it up and give it a try and see what all of the fuss was about. Of course, as you can already tell, I'm talking about the Tier 10 US cruiser, the Des Moines, or as I like to say, the Des Moines. The map is Loop, it's Domination Match Mode, and it is a Tier 10 maximum battle, obviously. Both enemy teams have Tier 10 carriers, so I definitely do need to be careful of that. You might notice here that I don't actually have the defensive fire consumable on this ship, instead choosing to have both hydro and radar. Now, there's a reason for that. Mostly, it's I run into carriers so little these days that having that defensive fire capability, not as useful as having hydro that can be used to sneak around islands. Now, I pop the radar here as I'm dealing with a enemy destroyer that's sitting in the B cap point, as I'm taking a lot of fire in here from the vast majority of the enemy team. The enemy aircraft carrier has got his aircraft coming over, and even though I don't have the defensive fire capability, which really only increases the effectiveness of your 5+ kilometer AA, it does panic the aircraft, giving it a wider spread. But the anti-aircraft on the Des Moines, even without that, and even without an AA build, really does do a very, very reasonable job of taking down aircraft. Take a big ol' hit there, definitely got citadeled by one of the battleships off in the distance, and that is definitely going to hurt. But of course, I was kind of put into this position where if I wanted to get away quickly, I had to speed up, go forward, and turn broadside. Now, I'm trying to get away from the aircraft. I'm trying to get out of line of sight from everybody else and drop off detectability. Once those aircraft get far enough away, that'll be the case because that is the only thing detecting me. I do have the concealment expert on this ship, and I think I have the concealment module as well, so I have a 10-kilometer detection range. Unfortunately for me, the radar is not 10 kilometers, which means I'll be detected, pop my radar, and still not see what's spotting me. So far, enemy team still not able to capture the B cap point, but my team has the A cap point, and the enemy team has the C cap point. Shots out there at the turrets off in the distance as I take return fire from him. Fortunately, he doesn't manage to citadel me. I did manage to set that turret on fire, and he is still burning down. There's a Minotaur who's popped up. He's popping his smoke screen, and he's backing up, trying to get behind that island. I do get shots out there, and I do land some hits on him, which is good for me, but I don't manage to set any fires, which is a little disappointing, until the second set hits, and I do manage to set a fire, but he'll probably put that out right away. My team has now managed to take the lead by killing one of their destroyers, at least equaling out the number of destroyers per team, as well as killing one of their cruisers. And this is going to give us just that ever so slight advantage as we manage to capture the B cap point. Now, I've pulled back far enough. I'm in a good position where the enemy is mostly concentrated on what's closer to them. Managed to set that turret on fire yet again, so hopefully that fire will continue to burn for just that little bit longer. My team having trouble capping the B cap point as they are being constantly contested for it, and the ships that are trying to cap it are being constantly spotted by the cheeky destroyers, of which they do manage to take out one of our destroyers. However, we take out the destroyer in the process. Of course, I see a smoke screen. I think I'm within 10 kilometers. I pop my radar, but the destroyer that was hiding in that smoke screen is already dead. A little bit disappointing, a little bit of a wasted use of the radar. Of course, I'm sitting back at range anyway, so I'm not really able to use the radar effectively. Now, my team still in the lead with 3 ships, but this could change very quickly because the enemy is concentrating their forces down at the C cap point, which means they can easily roll up behind us, and if we're not careful, our aircraft carrier could be in danger of being attacked from the rear. Speaking of aircraft carriers, the enemy CV putting more shots, more torpedoes into friendly battleships up there. I'm close enough that my AA is providing some support there, but it's definitely not enough. It's definitely not defensive fire there. Trying to get shots out at this Russian destroyer up there, but of course he's moving very fast, and the Des Moines guns are not particularly quick when it comes to the shell velocities. I have a broadsiding Minotaur up here, and that's when I decide I'm going to switch over to the armor piercing. Yes, that's right, the heavy American piercing shells, and I'm going to see if I can cause him some serious and irreparable damage. As the first shots land, I do in fact cause him some serious damage with a Citadel, and with any luck I'll be able to do more, but he's picked up the speed there. He's disappearing behind that island, so most of my shots are being blocked. Really disappointed that I wasn't able to get more Citadels on him. Of course, I've got this French cruiser over here as well, and I switched over to the high explosive because I was expecting to shoot at the battleship, but he is giving me broadside as well. Fire off more shots here, and again, with any luck, my shots will land and I'll be able to Citadel him from range. Something that people forget the Des Moines has because it's such a good high explosive spammer with its high rate of fire and its 203mm gun caliber, and its high chance of fire because of those 203mm as well. Basically means you can put out a lot of fires. In fact, I think at least one of my 4 Witherers comes from this ship. Of course, then again, I specifically played this ship because I knew I could get a Witherer in it by causing so much fire damage. Enemy team has managed to pull it back just a little bit. They've lost yet another destroyer, so they're down to 1, but my team has lost all 3 of our destroyers, which gives that enemy team that destroyer advantage. The enemy team is down on ships overall. However, my team is also down on ships, and we're only in the lead by 1, and that's really the only thing that's keeping us in this game at this point. And really, one of the key factors as to why the enemy team is still in the game. Of course, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to push up here into the B cap point because B has still not been captured. And it doesn't, at this particular point, look like there's anybody in a position to contest me. There is a smoke screen up there, but I'm pretty confident that's the Minotaur. Again, popping my radar a bit too early here, misjudging the range of the radar on the US cruisers as well as the range that that smoke screen is. Enemy aircraft carrier overflies me with planes as my AA opens up, and that's going to tell that Minotaur that there is a Des Moines back here, and because I'm in the process of capping, of course, he's going to start shooting at me. Now, I have my armor piercing already loaded for him. Unfortunately, I don't give quite enough lead on there as he starts moving forward, and I am turning hard and away because I am taking a lot of shots, and I really don't want to be taking a lot of shots. Fortunately for me, however, there is a friendly cruiser up here that has a smokescreen, and I'm desperately hoping, and yes, he has popped his smokescreen, so I'm going to go use that, drop off detection range, and hide inside his smokescreen. Drop off detectability, and with any luck, I'll be able to help secure the cap on this zone. Now I slow way down here. I want to try and stay inside this friendly cruiser smokescreen. He's forward, I'm rear. This works out really well because I am not impeding his line of fire at this particular point. Enemy Iowa is broadside on. I could probably switch over to my armor piercing, and I do, to see what kind of damage I can do on him as I use my high explosive and manage to set him on fire. Now that Iowa is mostly full strength, which is actually kind of impressive, which probably means he's been hiding in the back. I get my armor piercing out here, and I'm hoping to cause some reasonable amounts of damage as I hit him. Do some damage. I get a lot of ricochets, though, so I switch back over to the high explosive in an effort to try and burn him down. Of course, he disappears behind that island. My team has managed to secure the B cap point, and that's going to give us a nice points lead as we begin to generate 6 points every 3 seconds instead of just 3. Of course, enemy team loses yet another ship, but my team also loses yet another ship, and so the teams are still actually pretty damn close when it comes down to it. Managed to set that Iowa on fire yet again, and he's already burning thanks to other ships, and with any luck, we'll be able to burn him down. At this point, the friendly battleship that's up there is not in a good position, and he does get himself killed as a result of being pretty far forward with not a lot of support. Now, I have to be careful here because that Iowa could decide he wants to shoot at me. And if he shoots at me, the Des Moines does not have the best armor when dealing with 16-plus-inch guns. Now, I do have another ship that's way off in the distance, and he is shooting at me. He lands some high explosive, and that looks like, yes, it's the battleship Moskva. So I'm going to go ahead, and I'm just going to break contact here. I'm going to turn, I'm going to run away. I'm going to keep up the fire, help the Minotaur maybe deal with that Iowa, just that little bit. But it looks like he's probably going to go down here any second. Enemy team does manage to sink yet another ship, so now we're tied for ships. But we managed to take out that Iowa, again, giving us the ship lead. Additionally, we have a battleship advantage at the moment. The enemy team does have 2 tier 10 cruisers, though, and that's important. But they also have their carrier, and based on where the aircraft are coming from, I'm almost positive I know exactly where the carrier is. Now, the carrier dropped torpedoes on the friendly battleship up here, and I saw those torpedoes coming. I slowed way down rather than blindly continuing at full speed around the headland of this island and right into them. So dodge those torpedoes just basically by paying attention. Unfortunately for this North Carolina, I am not close enough to him to provide solid anti-aircraft support. My long-range AA is opening up, but the long-range AA is not going to be enough to deal with 2 full dive bomber squadrons, and that's a bit unfortunate. Enemy cruiser pops up here. He's putting fire out on that North Carolina. The carrier and this cruiser are tag teaming him. They're basically alternating in a concerted effort to effectively burn him down to the waterline. That's when the enemy CV pops up for a brief moment here. I fire out high explosive at him. I want to set his flight deck on fire. Of course, with the captain skill, he's probably got the ability to, you know, launch planes well on fire. But that doesn't matter to me. If I can burn him, start whittling that HP down, that would be great. He is a tier 10 carrier, so he's got a lot of HP. He also has a lot of aircraft. Do manage to set his bow on fire there, and I'm just going to continue working him down. But I do need to be careful of that cruiser, because that cruiser is going to start returning fire and try and deal with me. Now, what's funny here is that the CV and the cruiser are not coordinating their shots anymore. The cruiser is shooting at me. The battleship on my team is shooting at the cruiser. The carrier is dropping torpedoes and bombs on the battleship, and I'm shooting at the carrier. It's a wonderful 4-way engagement. Of course, this cruiser, very low HP. I decide to switch fire off shots at him with high explosive because that's what I've got loaded, and he's very low health, and I do manage to secure my first kill after 123,000 damage done. My team is in the process of capping the C cap point, and that's going to give us an advantage at all 3 caps. But remember, the enemy team still has a sneaky destroyer, and they still have 2 tier 10 cruisers left. Do manage to set that that carrier on fire yet again, and this time it looks like he's going to burn with that for a little bit. With the enemy cruiser now gone, that means the battleship is going to focus down on that battleship, on the carrier as well. And of course, the carrier puts out his fire. I switch over to the armor piercing because he is giving me broadside. I'm hoping I can try and citadel him, or at the very least cause a little bit more damage than I was with the high explosive. He's not giving me the best angle anymore, but I am doing a reasonable amount of damage, about 4,000 per salvo. Decide I'm going to switch back over to the high explosive and set him on fire and continue to burn him down from the front. Do manage to get close enough to the battleship that now I am providing wonderful AA support to him. So any of these aircraft that are coming in here are dealing with not only my anti-aircraft, but that battleship's anti-aircraft as well. Of course, that doesn't mean that the battleship is 100% safe, as he does take a pretty sizable hit there from torpedoes that I wasn't able to take out. friendly carrier effectively steals the kill on the enemy carrier because I was going to burn him down. The battleship was certainly going to burn him down. One of us two was going to get it, and it certainly would have been nice to have a second kill. Of course, he does apologize for kind of stealing that kill from us, and it really wasn't necessary for him to do. Enemy team is in the process of capping the A cap point, and they have just begun capping the B cap point. But my team is up on points at the moment. And as long as we stay alive, because the enemy team only has 3 ships, we have a reasonable chance of winning on points, and there's not a lot of time left in the battle. We do have our aircraft carrier, which means we do have the spotting advantage to see where these cruisers, especially the cruisers, are located. Now, we know that one of the cruisers is in the B cap point, so we can safely assume that either the other cruiser or the destroyer is up at the A cap point and has just finished capping that. The carrier is doing a wonderful job preventing the enemy team from fully capping the B cap point, but of course we have a friendly cruiser up there who's also trying to prevent. Now there's the second cruiser, the Minotaur, coming down there, and it does look like he might have been up at the A cap point capping as well. Now, I've got my armor piercing loaded because he's giving me broadside, but I've also got armor piercing loaded because I'm trying to shoot this Moskva. Decide to switch back over to high explosive as I pass in front of the friendly midway. And with any luck, I'll be able to help reset the cap progress as well and get some defender ribbons in there. And I do manage to do that, just clipping him and probably just clipping the Minotaur as well. Do set the Moskva on fire, and that's going to be bad news for him because now he's burning and he's got dive bombers coming in. So he has to make a decision here, put the fire out and risk being set on fire by dive bombers, or let the fire burn and let me rack up damage and then get set on fire by the dive bombers and not be able to do anything about it. We did lose our friendly cruiser up here as a result of having to deal with effectively 2 ships at the same time, and that puts us equal for ships. Now, the enemy team still in the process of capping that B cap point could be a bit of a problem. I do manage to set that Minotaur on fire again and reset the cap. Now, I switch over to armor piercing because this Moskva up here is pushing forward. He's desperately trying to stop, desperately trying to stay behind this island. He knows that there's a fast-firing cruiser up here, but unfortunately for him, in his effort to stop, he drifts forward. I get all 9 shots of armor piercing out. Can I Citadel him? Yes, a triple Citadel, and nearly finish him off. Unfortunately, the fires from the carrier managed to finish him off. That's really disappointing, because I've earned a Confederate and a high caliber as a result of that massive amount of damage I just inflicted on him. Pop my radar here just in case that Minotaur has his smoke screen up so that the friendly CV can continue using his dive bombers to come in and harass him and continue to reset. Of course, because the enemy team is down to just 2 ships, one who's a very low health Minotaur and one who turns out is a very low health destroyer. And that destroyer is going to pop up. There he is, and look how little health he has. If I could get my shots over the island and land a shot on him, maybe I could secure another kill. But my shots are blocked by the island, and it doesn't matter anyway. We hit 1,000 points. At the end of the battle, I did 174,887 damage, so just shy of 175,000 damage. 564,000 credits earned in the battle. Confederate and high caliber are my only awards. Shot down 33 of the enemy CV's aircraft and only got 1 kill. Mind you, that's all without defensive fire on the aircraft. Top of the team for XP earned at over 3,000 base XP in this battle. A very good battle for me indeed. And the Midway player did a wonderful job himself at over 2,000 base XP, coming in second on the team for XP earned. Anyway, that's it for today's video, folks. If you like the video, hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, and leave a comment down below. If you'd like to get semi-regular channel news and updates, you can do so by liking and following me on Facebook. If you'd like to help support me and my channel, you can do so by becoming my supporter on Patreon. A donation of just $1 a month, $12 a year will grant you access to some of my World of Warships replays early. Some replays that do make it to YouTube, and some that are good but don't quite make the cut to YouTube. If you've got a replay like this one that you'd like to see featured on my channel, you can do so by sending it to my email. And if you'd like to watch me play World of Warships live, usually Sundays at around 10 a.m. Pacific Standard or Pacific Daylight Time, you can do so by following me on Twitch. You can find the links for all of those in the video description down below. And as always, I'll see you next time. This is Captain Rye, signing off.